Welcome to On the Clock. It's the Atlanta Falcons edition today here on Forward Progress, a part of the Hammer Betting Network. If you're new to this series, basically what we're going to do here is we're going to mock the Atlanta Falcons draft this season as if we were in the position of the general manager. And when I say we, I'm going to introduce our guest for today. You know him if you've watched Forward Progress here before. If you're new to him, great guy, huge Atlanta Falcons fan, Ian McMillan. He is the host of the Bacon Bets podcast. You can download that wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also check out the YouTube channel as well, Bacon Bets. Some good Masters picks and stuff like that. I'm sure that was pretty fun to film there, Ian.
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, I chose the wrong of the two Top Guns. I went Scheffler instead of Rahm for the Masters. But yeah, Masters was fun. Ready to start digging into some NFL draft stuff.
All right. First, let's get into your fandom. You're Eastern
Yes.
Canadian guy. You're in the U.S. now, but you are an Atlanta Falcons fan. How did that come to be?
It came to be because I started watching the NFL, or at least starting to get into it when I started playing football back in like 2005, 2006 maybe. And I didn't have a team. Obviously, no Canadian team in the NFL. I had a lot of friends who were Patriots fans, and I hated the Patriots, so I didn't want to cheer for them. So I bought the Madden video game. I think it was 05 or 06. I think it was Donovan McNabb on the cover, so I think that was 06. I created the player, put him into the draft in like their superstar mode, and said whatever team drafts my player will be the team I cheer for the rest of my life. So as fate would have it, my player was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, and I've been a diehard Falcons fan since then. It wasn't too bad when it first started off, because that was when, that was the pre-dogfighting Mike Vick days. So I had a couple years of Mike Vick, and then it's largely been downhill since then. Obviously, the 2083 that I have to live with that haunts me almost every day of my life. But I'm in it for the long haul.
Well, 8th overall pick in the draft this year. Got some potential upside in Desmond Ridder at quarterback, who was drafted a season ago. Before we get into the needs for the Atlanta Falcons, I'll bring up the depth chart really quickly. Just curious, generally speaking, we're going to put you in the shoes of the GM of the Falcons. What's going to be your draft strategy? Are you a guy that's going to draft positions of need? Do you think the Falcons are just so far away from being competitive now that you maybe just draft the best player available? How are you going to approach this draft?
Yeah, Rob, and this is where I think myself and I think the Falcons management executives kind of differ on this opinion. And that's why before we went live, I even asked you, should I draft as if, how I would like the Falcons to draft, or how I think they should draft, because it's two very different things. The Falcons are adamant that they draft the best player available for the most part. In recent years, that's what it's been. They've been vocal about that. You saw they were one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they drafted a tight end in Kyle Pitts. And now for some reason haven't really thrown to him as much as they probably should be doing. But I'm going to draft for need. I don't believe in that. I think maybe if you're either one of the worst teams in the NFL or one of the best teams in the NFL, then maybe draft the best player available. But we have so many holes. And actually, if we fill at least a few of them, I actually think we can be somewhat competitive, at least in the NFC South this upcoming year. So I, today, will be drafting for need.
Well, that's the thing about the NFC South, and I kind of like that strategy in general, but the division's all like it's not that far from grasp for Atlanta this year.
Right.
When you think of the fact that Carolina's also rebuilding, Tampa's going to be rebuilding with Tom Brady not there. The Saints go out and sign Derek Carr, but I did a Saints mock draft a couple of weeks back as well. They still have a lot of team needs as well, especially on the interior of their offensive line. They couldn't generate a pass rush this year. So it's not like the Falcons are all that far off. Let's take a look at their offense heading into the year as it stands right now. Looking top to bottom, anything stand out to you here on the offensive side of the ball of like, this player was really poor last year, or we just need to improve at this overall position?
Yeah, offensively, there's two big needs that we have. Number one is probably the most obvious when you're looking at the depth chart, and that's a number 2 wide receiver. We have Drake London, we have Kyle Pitts at tight end, but we don't have a number 2. We signed Scotty Miller and Mac Hollins. Rob, I don't think you would call either of those guys a true number 2 receiver. So we need another number 2 guy at wide out. But what I think might be a little bit of a bigger need is on the offensive line, which actually right now is a pretty solid offensive line for the most part. We got Chris Lindstrom, who arguably the best guard in the league. We re-signed Caleb McGarry. We have Jake Matthews on the other side, but we still kind of have a hole in the interior. We don't really know what's going on to the left guard position. Jalen Mayfield didn't play last year. He didn't have a great rookie campaign. We'll see if he can kind of take a step forward, but not a lot of high hopes for him. Drew Dahlman is an all right center. We'll see if he progresses. He's still pretty young in his career, but there is a pretty big hole there on the interior between the left guard and the center that I'm going to see if we can shore up in this draft a little bit, or at least add some depth to it. So, and this is actually one thing I've been seeing, and I've been taking a look at some mock drafts. Some people have us taking a quarterback with that 8th overall pick. I think that's ridiculous. The management have been very clear that Desmond Ridder is their guy. Bringing in Taylor Heineke to back up him if something does go wrong with Ridder and he doesn't pan out. But I'm seeing people take Will Levis 8th. Why would you take basically a guy who's going to be at the same level as Desmond Ridder? That doesn't make any sense to me. So quarterback is not a need, even though a lot of people think it is.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you about that in particular. The combination of Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke is not going to excite a lot of Falcons fans going into the year. So I think that there's the thought of, okay, maybe if a player falls into our lap, we take him at quarterback. But I like what you said there as well. I think they used draft capital on Ridder last year. They want to see what they got, unless it's somebody like, Stroud or Bryce Young falling to the 8th spot, which I is never going to happen. I think that would be a different story. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. So obviously in the offseason, they bring in Calais Campbell, which is nice. David Onyemata as well on the defensive line. So that's addressing needs at defensive tackle. But just from my perspective, not a Falcons fan, an average general NFL fan, I see some major issues with pass rushers and probably depth at corner here, Ian.
Yeah, you nailed it, Rob. And one thing that it is important to note looking at the defensive depth chart here is that they brought in Ryan Nielsen for their defensive coordinator. They're likely going to switch from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So the depth chart is going to look a little bit different than what we're seeing there right now. But yeah, pass rusher, just like the Chicago Bears can never get a good quarterback in the draft, the Falcons are just doomed to never get a good pass rusher. We just can't rush to quarterback. We never have been able to. It seems like never will be able to. So we definitely, if we are going to switch to a 4-3, that's especially the case as well. Because Grady Jarrett probably play the inside, I guess. Calais Campbell on one side. We need someone else on the other side. So we need another pass rusher for sure. And then we need some depth at corner because AJ Terrell, that's the jersey I'm wearing. I'm a big AJ Terrell guy. He did take a bit of a step back this past year, but still he's going to be our number one guy. But then you have Casey Hayward on the other side, who's going into his last year of his deal. He got hurt last year. I think he only played 6 games. He's certainly not young. So we need a number 2 corner to play on the opposite side of AJ Terrell. So cornerback is definitely a huge spot. We addressed safety signing Jesse Bates, which is going to be huge for this defense. But corner and pass rush are definitely the 2 areas the Falcons are going to probably, at least I hope, and we're obviously going to get into this, patch up with the 8th overall pick.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of mock drafts in the early going here, and I'd say in probably 99% of the mock drafts that I've been looking at year to date so far, the Falcons either address edge rusher with the 8th overall pick or cornerback. I guess if Christian Gonzalez falls to them, but Tyree Wilson and Miles Murphy as edge rushers seem to be pretty common picks there. And honestly, curious your thoughts on this as well, but seeing as how the Falcons are, let's just say they lack impact players relative to a lot of teams in the NFL. Curious what your thoughts are in general on potentially trading down. If you have tons of picks available to you there, or at least a number of different players that you can pick for, do you consider trading down with the 8th overall pick?
Yeah, that was actually something I was going to bring up. Kind of depends. I want to see when we run this mock draft who's left for us. But yeah, because they don't have an early 2nd round pick, so I think trading down could be an option. Load up on a few more picks. I wish they had an early 2nd round pick. I think there's some immediate holes they could fill in there. But yeah, I think that's an option. I think it all depends on how the first 7 picks going to shake up.
All right, let's get right into it. So, as usual, if you've been watching this series, it's going to be the same settings as always. We're doing all 7 rounds. We're drafting the Atlanta Falcons today, and we're going to keep the Pro Football Focus settings the same. If you haven't watched any of these other ones in the series, make sure you do so. There's a playlist right here on the Forward Progress channel. Subscribe to the channel. You'll get notifications when we go live in the future. Going to start with the speed on slow until we get to the 8th overall pick, just in case somebody drops and we want to stop the clock and say, hey, let's, try to trade up or something like that, which Fabian Sommer did in the Seattle Seahawks draft, the last one that we did on Forward Progress here. But you ready to go, Ian?
Yes, I'm very excited. I love a good mock draft.
So do I. Big fan of doing this. Probably one of my favorite series that I've produced in a long time. All right, Carolina Panthers starting the draft, and CJ Stroud.
No surprise.
Bryce
No
Young.
surprise. Yep.
Will Anderson. Anthony Richardson. So 3 of the top 4 picks are quarterbacks. Jalen Carter.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a bit of Tyree Wilson. So there goes one edge.
I was hoping Tyree Wilson was going to fall.
And then Will Levis goes to the Raiders. So we're going to have options here at 8th overall. There's 4 teams that are willing to trade up at this spot. Washington with the 16th pick would be the highest that we could trade down to. Devin Witherspoon at corner. A lot of people really like him. Christian Gonzalez at corner. But I think consistently speaking, I've seen Witherspoon going higher in drafts. If we do want to go down the list, we do have edge rushers available. Lucas Van Ness. Pro Football Focus isn't so high on Miles Murphy, so you see his ADP and his rank down there, but he's definitely been mocked to the Atlanta Falcons at this spot as well. So talk me through your original thoughts here, Ian.
Yeah, a lot of different options here. Obviously, you still have the 2 corners. I think if one of them was gone, then I think that might be just the obvious pick. But with this many guys left here, including the Iowa pass rusher, Van Ness. A lot of mock drafts I'm seeing the Falcons get him as well. So we have some options. I wish if we could trade down, I wish there was a pick higher. What was Washington? 18?
16. Yeah. So you risk losing. Yeah. I mean, this is a precarious spot because there's no one, you drop 8 picks and it could be all the corners and all the top pass rushers all off the board here.
I was hoping, and I've run a couple of these since you asked me to come on. I was hoping the Texans were going to give us an offer to drop down to 12. I think that would be a little bit more tempting. What if we explore the trade option? What can we get back from Washington potentially?
So if we're looking to get their 2nd round pick this year, that would 100% be accepted. We could try to load in another 2nd from a future year. I don't think a 1st in a future year would ever be accepted. So you're basically looking at a couple 2nd round picks as compensation.
Yeah, I don't think I think we got to draft then. So then in this scenario, I think we just got to choose between one of the 2 corners. I've seen a lot of mock drafts taking Christian Gonzalez. I think Christian Gonzalez is maybe the little bit more, at least from what I'm reading, and we'll take a look here. A little bit more of the athletic player, and Devin Witherspoon seems to be a little bit more of a kind of
Devin Witherspoon's pretty small.
Yeah,
180 pounds, so he's pretty thin. They compare him to Darius Slay. Good speed player. What's his role? Island number 1 quarterback. That sounds pretty good. Struggled with penalties in college. So we have Devin Witherspoon and we have Christian Gonzalez as an option. Christian Gonzalez played at Oregon. And if we look at Christian Gonzalez compared to Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, effortless movement skills for his size. So he's a bigger player overall, 6'1", 197, more versatile cornerback. I don't think we could go wrong with either one, but I'm going to give you the selection and decide who you want to take with the Falcons pick.
Oh, boy. I'm going to go with... I actually like, because this is going to go against the ranking and the ADP here, but I actually like Christian Gonzalez better. I like his versatility. I like his size. I like his athleticism a little bit more. Also, a thing about Devin Witherspoon is that he really only had 1 good year, I believe. I think he was a completely average player until his last year. Had a great 2022, obviously. I kind of like Christian Gonzalez a little bit more.
You know what? I've seen this very interchangeable in mock drafts, depending on which big board you look at. Some have Christian Gonzalez ranked ahead. So I don't think that this is wrong by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to go ahead and take Christian Gonzalez. I'm going to set the speed to fast so that we move pretty quickly up to 44. And here we go. Be interesting to see whether or not Pro Football Focus likes that pick later on. Sometimes you make the best picks. You think it's going to be great. And PFF just they come in and they shit on you with that D+ rating, like they did to Suma last week. It's
Well, what's
heartbreaking when
what's
that
going to kill
happens.
me even more than that is if I get Falcons fans in the comments ripping me apart.
That's pain when your
That's
own fan base is
my
shredding you.
yes.
I will say PFF has identified the Falcons' needs as quarterback, wide receiver, and edge.
Quarterback's
So the
insane.
fact that they didn't put corner in there, which I don't agree with, is will probably hurt the draft rating. But it is what it is. We march on. So we're now at 44th overall.
I will say another thing, a name that we hadn't brought up, and I'm seeing, unfortunately, a lot of Falcons fans who want this to happen, is Bijan Robinson to be taken 8th overall, which is, I think, a massive leap. Maybe if they do that, like that theoretical trade with Washington, go back all the way back to 16, but they just got Tyler Algier, a third-round draft pick who rushed for 1,000 yards. Like, why would you take Bijan Robinson? But I'm concerned that they might because of the Falcons' draft strategy, which has been to take the best player available. They might just take Bijan Robinson.
He did go to 16th to Washington in this mock draft, but I'm kind of with you. Like, I'm not a running backs don't matter guy. Like, I don't agree with that. I think that there's definitely impact players that mean something, but we've seen so many bust high-end running backs, essentially, and so many that just come out of the 7th round and produce at a high clip in the NFL. I just don't think that there's a need when you have so many positions to fill. Why go running back at 8th overall? I agree. All right, so we're here in and around 44, 6 trade offers available. We have Thule. I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to go for it because I don't want to offend. Edge rusher, USC. Nathaniel Dell, who's in a lot of drafts from Houston, which PFF's really high on, but tends to not go at this spot. Steve Avila would be a decent pick here at guard as well, and I've seen him mocked in 2nd rounds to Falcons and other drafts as well. So just going down the list here, I'll get your thoughts.
Yeah, those were actually the exact 3 that I'm thinking about here as well. That is there a trade offer that maybe we can get?
Go down to 48 with Detroit.
48. Can we get back their probably not their 55? It's probably not going to give it to us.
We would have to throw in something. It would have to be the 75.
Is that going to work if we do?
If we threw them the 75, we almost certainly will get this done. Pick at 44 and pick at 48 and 55.
Yeah, because there is a group of players that I'm just that we could get at 55. I just don't think they would drop to 75.
If you want me to offer it, I can go ahead and offer it.
We'll see what happens. Get on the phone.
They rejected. Unbelievable. The Lions organization takes a severe hit in my books.
Unbelievable. All right, let's draft someone then.
Okay. Edge rusher, guard.
Nathaniel Dell is an interesting option too, but I just think it's a little bit too much. I think it's a little bit of a reach for him at this spot, a little bit though.
Yeah, so PFF has been really high on him in general, and that's fine. But most mocks or big boards, he tends to go in the 70 to 80 range. So I do think that this is a little bit high for Nathaniel Dell.
I actually like taking Steve Avila. It's the L is silent one in there. I think shoring up the interior of our offensive line. I think this is a good spot that we can get him in at.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's the pick.
I agree. I think this is right in about the range that he's been mocked as well. I've seen him go as high as the low 30s or upper 30s, 37 to Seattle in a lot of these mocks as well. So Steve Avila, come on down. Shore up that interior. And we're waiting all the way till pick number 75 here. Now, this is where it gets always tricky because we get into the prospect range of I don't know who this guy is. This is more challenging.
Oh, Nathaniel Dell is still there for us.
Yes.
So
and this is more consistent with his real life, I would say, because this is the ADP here is heavily influenced by the fact that PFF puts him at 44, right?
Right.
So a lot of people draft him highly. Real mocks, he tends to go in the 70 to 80 range. So I think that this is solid value for a guy with high upside.
Although I will say Nick Herbig from Wisconsin is still tempting in this spot because we still do need an edge rusher.
Mm-hmm. Just checking out where Herbig's all over the place. I think depending on mock drafts, he goes early 3rd round all the way down to 5th round. So that's an interesting one.
Well, yeah, let's go Nathaniel Dell.
Okay, let's get it done. Houston receiver. There we go. I mean, if you're going to develop Ritter, you got to give the guy some options to throw to,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Got to give the guy some options to throw to. Can't rely on Mac Hollins and Scotty Miller getting all that
Scotty
separation.
Miller's not getting it done.
He's not getting it done. 110. So we could filter by position. We could just go down the list. We do have an edge rusher in Carl Brooks from Bowling Green, who looks to be of very solid value. And this is in line with his real life draft positioning, I would say, on big boards that I've looked at. Then we get into halfback
let's just
territory.
go down the list here. Yeah. I wouldn't mind getting a center, but I think we can do that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. I think now I'm getting into reach territory.
Yeah, so let's go. I think that's kind of the obvious pick, isn't it? Is the from Bowling Green, Carl Brooks. We need an edge rusher. Decent value here.
Shades of Marlon Davidson, had a great career. I mean, he is a big boy though. Like, is he actually? Here's the challenge I have with him. Right, 6'4", 300. He has more of like a defensive tackle build.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what we need here. Like, I feel like we need like quickness. A true speed edge rusher.
I don't know. I mean, he seems like a guy that you shift around all across the offense, all across the defensive line. Like, just looking at it, he did play a lot of outside tackle last year. So maybe not a horrible pick, but I'll give you the final say.
Can we sort by edge rusher? Like,
yes.
If we stick with edge rusher, who's our next best option here?
It's Colby Wooden.
Who, this is a huge reach for him.
Colby Wooden would be, I mean, looking at other consensus big boards, he tends to go in like the 140 range. So I think it's now or never. I don't know that Carl Brooks is like the prototypical edge rusher. He's like more of a rotational D lineman, but from a value perspective.
Yeah, I think value perspective, I think this point in the draft, you just got to take the best guy who can kind of fit the system a little bit. Yeah, let's go Carl Brooks.
Okay. This was the pick that Atlanta acquired from Tennessee. So we're going to have another pick, the actual Falcons, fourth rounder here at 113.
Beautiful.
Immediately.
So far we got corner, we got offensive line, we got wider. So we got kind of one of each of the big needs so far.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind adding some more secondary depth.
Yep. So we want to sort by corner or... I don't think I could sort by secondary.
Yeah, let's go safety first. I see that guy from Iowa State, but look at the difference between the ranking and the average, the ADP for Anthony Johnson.
Yeah, this would be, in my opinion, super, super high to take Anthony Johnson. Ronnie Hickman, I think it's more of a not reach, but still a little bit high. Tough to say.
Let's take center, actually. I think I saw a couple there on the big board close to the top.
Okay. Center. Oh, am I drunk? Interior offensive lineman, I think there's no actual center. And I'll get rid of the safety filter. Juice Scruggs, Olusegun Oluwatimi, Michigan.
Still.
We have a few options here.
Just go back to the big board one more time. Those guys just seem like a little bit too much of a stretch there to get them at this point.
I agree with you. So Chandler Zavala. Now, honestly, this might be the halfback territory. I mean, it might be. I'm not forcing you to take a running back, but fourth round is not exactly the biggest reach when you do have good players available.
Let's take a look at the Wake Forest defensive lineman there.
Where did I miss him? Yes, Kobe Turner. Let's take a look.
Is he going to be an interior guy, or
this is very much
on the edge?
I'm going to take a quick look at that now. But snaps by alignment, most of it was A gap and B gap, so it does seem like he's playing interior. We don't have a scouting report on him. 6'3", 290. So definitely just a pure interior guy. Yeah. It's a tough one here, Ian. Tough one.
Let's go Tank Bigsby.
Okay.
Let's just get some value. Let's add an offensive weapon potentially. Let's go Tank Bigsby. I think we can get other positions I'm looking at later in the draft.
So we're going down to 159. With Tank Bigsby, I will say I would never pick him in the second round. I have seen him mocked as high as second round.
Great value pick.
Yeah, I like it. So we got 4 picks left. We're at number 159. We still have Anthony Johnson available here.
Yep.
Which is corner, Corey Trice. We do have an edge option in Viliami Fehoko, edge for San Jose State. We didn't get like a true edge guy yet, right?
Yeah, I was looking at that San Jose State guy. Let's take a little click on him and see what his
the old clickaroo.
What he's looking like.
San Jose State. I mean, I like the grades. He lines up outside tackle pretty much exclusively.
Yes.
6'4", 276, power player, inside outside versatility, near unblockable.
Unblockable is a pretty good trait to have.
I would say so. When your job is to rush the quarterback, being unblockable is pretty good. We good to go and lock it in?
Yeah, that's the pick. That one's an easy one.
And now we're going to fill our late round quota here at 224, 225, 245. Let's get there. I've done so many of these drafts now that it's actually absurd how like I know the ranges.
Right.
It's nuts, man. 224. Oh boy.
Okay. I mean, if Anthony Johnson's still there, we got it. Yeah, some safety depth.
Yeah, I mean this is an A+ pick, right?
Did it come out that did he rip a bong with a mask bong right before the draft?
I don't know if there's any information or how the PFF, like other mock computer teams, look at this. He switched from corner to safety too. So
perfect.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna go and rip that one.
Yeah.
Just like Anthony Johnson might have ripped the bong. We don't know.
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh yeah, we have the next pick too, 225. We have quarterback available, Corey Trice. Where's Corey Trice's real life draft position? 138 average draft position. Don't know if he was ripping bongs with Anthony Johnson Jr. But
they're caught in a video of ripping mask bongs together.
I mean, I'll leave it up to you, but I feel like that's a pretty strong pick at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Do it out. Made it
and
easy
we go
for
to 245.
And now there's a certain player that I hope is still available at this pick. I don't know.
Tell me it's a fullback or a kicker. I'll laugh.
It is not.
Okay. Who did you want to be available at this pick?
The pride of Georgia.
Georgia. How is he? Like, do I have to scroll through the list or
just you can go by position? He's probably not still here. Go by position. And go ahead and click quarterback. No, he's not. Oh, Max Duggan's still there though. I don't hate that. I always look at the 7th round picks to be like a project quarterback, even though we already have a project quarterback.
I mean, Max.
I was hoping Stetson Bennett was going to be there. What's Stetson Bennett's like true range to be drafted?
Stetson Bennett is in this type of range, like 200 to 225 typically. I mean, it would be a little bit of a drop to get him here, but
that's what I was hoping. I was hoping to bring the pride of Georgia to Atlanta, but
yeah, that would have made the people happy. That's a way to get the commenters, the YouTube commenters on your side. Yes. I think that's a pro move because I go on like these Cincinnati and New England mock drafts and they're just destroying me. Like, how could you say this player's not any good and whatever? Got to win the people over sometimes.
All right. What do we got then if I don't go quarterback? Jordan McFadden, it wouldn't be a bad idea to give some depth to the offensive tackle position.
Yep. I mean, you basically have your pick, and I'm not going to pretend I know anything about these late round prospects.
Right.
You have a center in Brett Nealon.
Did we end up taking a center or no?
We did not.
Okay, I think that
we
might
took
be
Steve Avila at guard.
Right. Yeah, let's take Brett Nealon. Let's take the USC center.
All right.
The interior a little bit.
And now the moment of truth, where PFF judges you for your picks.
What's been the highest rating so far?
I've gotten a few A+ on my own.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've gotten a few A+ on my own. Oh, we took so many picks. It's going to take a while for the AI to figure out. Oh, all right. They're not big fans of the Steve Avila pick.
No.
But they love Nathaniel Dell and Carl Brooks. Wow, they A overall. I mean, hard to. I would say that this was a really good, like, objectively, not a Falcons fan.
Right.
You get your corner to put across from AJ Terrell. Position of need, offensive line. You get a wide receiver, maybe not a true edge rusher in Carl Brooks, but then you draft another edge rusher afterwards. Like, what do the people want? This is what they want. This has to be, I mean, outside of Lamar Jackson or like, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, this to me, I think, is a job well done, Ian.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which corner. It all comes down to, especially that first pick, which of the two corners. Because I think in that spot, I think you do go corner for sure. Yep. So it just depends which one you like more to fit into the Falcons scheme a little bit. I forget who was still there. I think I could have gone pass rusher with the 44th overall pick. I could have gone with a USC guy whose last name we can't pronounce. He was the other guy I was eyeing 44th overall. But I just like Steve Avila a little bit more to shore up the interior of the offensive line. I don't know what we're doing in the left guard position. I think it gives us a pretty strong option there. And then I don't think you can really argue with any other pick.
Yeah. And of course, our back-to-back of Anthony Johnson Jr., Corey Trice, they may have done some bong rips, but getting them at 224 and 225, A+ to both. Check out Ian McMillan on Twitter at Ian MacBets. He's the host of the Bacon Bets podcast, and you can check it out on YouTube as well. Bacon Bets on YouTube. This has been the Atlanta Falcons on the clock. If you did enjoy the content today, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the Forward Progress YouTube channel. We're back tomorrow with the Washington Commanders on the